which means I go to school, and that school's in the middle of the city, exposing me to many types of things, observing things like office workers, fellow students, and the common stranger are part of my daily life. I've also witnessed many protests, such as the climate change protests. Screams about change, conservation, and the need to fix our world can be heard, and they remind me of some people from a cute little cultural movement. Romanticism is pretty much the movement of the first hippies. Starting out in the late 18th century, they were all about individuality, the imagination, the human experience, and how nature is beautiful and amazing. Writing, creating artworks, and music about the beauty of nature and the sublime was a very common practice among romantics. They were also very much against anything technological. It blew up as a response to the Industrial Revolution because they believed that technology was going to harm nature and the human way of life. An example of a romantic hating on the Industrial Revolution is a poem by big shot romantic William Blake called London. In his poem, he describes a dystopian-like London where infants are crying, men are crying, children are working, nature is enslaved, and he shows a very strong hatred towards any sort of human power. He wants to convey a sense of hatred and sadness that the revolution brought to the world, show the pain and the suffering no one can escape. Now, climate change, romanticism. How are they related? Well, I believe that romanticism shines its way through into the modern world through climate change. Not directly, of course. I don't think anyone was trying to sneak romanticism back into the modern life, but in a way it shows. Romanticism was technically the precursor of the conservation movement. It played an important role in launching the movement on multiple fronts, from communicating the beauty of nature to being sensitive about changes of the environment in their community. Through nature-inspired endeavors and introducing a heightened sense of spirituality, their efforts paid off and led to the preservation of wide areas based on the intrinsic value of nature and the land. Like the Romantics, climate change activists also thrive to protect nature and conserve the environment. In the modern era, we have social media, which allows us to connect to many different communities in order to spread the word about climate change and the threat it has been to the environment. It is ironic how we are using technological innovation, which is what caused climate change, in order to help us spread awareness about the issue and to educate people about it. Mind blown. So, does this mean romanticism has a place in the modern world? Should it be here? Personally, I think yes and no. What I have just talked about is a yes, a very good and positive yes. But there are some things that are a no for me. Romanticism has created unrealistic expectations with love and relationships, and so I think it has no place in the modern world. Ideas that came from romantic ideologies of what a relationship should be like. They spoke of marriage being lifelong and happy, with love and sex uniting a couple. Good sex equaled true love, and true love meaning the end of loneliness. There was no practicality whatsoever in choosing everything with your heart and accepting your partner no matter what was the ideal. These are very problematic ideas to me, and in a way, very toxic. Marriage doesn't last forever. I've seen many of my friends' parents split up because of abuse or unhappiness and the pain it's brought along with it. Marriage in the modern world cannot be seen as a forever love story because in the majority of cases, it's not. It's silly to think of it this way because life is unpredictable. Being in love doesn't mean spectacular sex, and sex doesn't mean love at first sight. Love and sex can mean different things. It's ultimately up to the individuals in the relationship to figure out what it means to them. These sort of ideas which say, hey, if you do this, you'll be 100% happy forever, are toxic and a straight up lie. Every relationship has its own rules between both partners, its own boundaries, and no one else should be able to dictate what your relationship is. In conclusion, I honestly don't know if romanticism should be followed in the modern world. I want to love the people I love without bizarre and toxic rules to follow. But we can also learn from romantics because they care for nature and appreciated it on a more spiritual level instead of exploiting it.